Hey folks, come walk with me. Well, it's very bright out here at the moment, but today's gonna be a little bit different of a video just because I'm not going to walk the entire time. So I'm gonna walk a little bit to get to compost. That has been composting for, well, one of them has been composting for a year. The other one's been composting for about 8 or 9 months, and they're about finished. And so I just wanted to sort of show folks as an update how they're looking and how we got there, to sort of lay the groundwork. When I first created these compost bins, I made some videos about them because I tried to do them in a few different ways and just sort of see what happens. So the first one that I did, the oldest one, is from chicken wire. So sort of one of the standard ways that you can do it. I got chicken wire from the hardware store, and then I created a barrel out of it by just, creating a cylinder and tying the sides together. And then I folded the bottom up to create a bottom. I folded one of the ends up to create a bottom, and then I, put it on the ground and put rocks in the bottom to make it a little bit more sturdy and steady. And then the other one, the like 8-month-old one, so I created that after the chicken wire got full. Sorry, I might get a little crunchy loud here. That one was a screen door that I had replaced. I'm gonna walk around some spider webs here. And I wanted to reuse what I could, and so I cut out the screen part, stitched it together with old guitar strings, and then did sort of a similar thing, though it was like much more flimsy than the chicken wire. So it was a little harder to like get it structured underneath, but I put rocks down to keep it sort of to have a bottom. And then ultimately it was still so flimsy that I had to put logs around it to hold it in a cylindrical shape. And so I did that and filled that as much as I could, and then moved on from there. So I noticed just yesterday that they are about ready to go. So this one here is the chicken wire. I got this log on here just to keep critters out, though they won't bother it now because it's not really yummy food anymore. But this is what it looks like now, which is crazy. From the outside, you still see some of the leaves and stuff. We have a ton of leaves around here, and so I utilize that to introduce I always forget if it's nitrogen or carbon, but to introduce that into the bin because it helps keep the smell down, and it helps sort of equalize things where you use a lot of food scraps and you need some of the other form. I think it's carbon. You need some of that to offset it. Some people use like cardboard and stuff like that, but again, we have so many leaves, and that just seems more natural than cardboard that you get shipped stuff in, which may have like ink and glue and stuff like that on there. And so the leaves did, I think, a lot of work in helping to, like I said, neutralize the smell, which again will of course cut down on critters trying to come in and have their way with your bin, and then just helped it turn. So I didn't do any active turning of this. Maybe every couple of months I would come out and poke around it with the pitchfork, just to get some holes in the top and sort of shuffle stuff around a little bit. But it certainly was nothing as drastic as, people who have the bins that tumble. So it wasn't anything like that. And this, like I said, it's about a year, and it just did it on its own. And so it's going to be ready to use. I want to look it up and see if this is the most effective way to do this, but my plan is to use it either for the overwintering crop that I'm going to put in my raised beds to help enrich the soil further, or I'm going to save it and use it for the spring. But I just need to look it up and see which is the most effective way to do it. So that's that one. The other one is, and hopefully you're seeing these okay, because when I put the camera away from me, I can't see what you're seeing really. But so this is, yeah, maybe a little hard to see, but this is a circle of old logs that I had, and some rocks, because at some point I had put rocks on there as well. But this is the old screen door, as you can probably tell. And here's the guitar strings. You see one there. Oh, as I just untied it, but it'll be okay. But in any case, this is, again, this I didn't touch at all. And this has only been in here for about 8 or 9 months. But same deal. This, I had some wood in the bottom as well, which I noticed yesterday as I was poking around. That wood is still a little bit structured. It's not as broken down, but it's very flimsy at this point. So I sort of poked it with a shovel and it just disintegrated really easily. Same thing in the chicken wire one. There's still some avocado pits that I noticed. Well, just one, but you know, I didn't break them up before I threw them in, and I knew that they would take longer to break down and that sort of thing. But those are also very sort of ill-structured at this point, and ready to just kind of give way into the soil. So I've been really pleasantly surprised about how well this went. I didn't ever have any critters really get into, or definitely not knock over, the chicken wire bin. So that worked really well. I do wonder how well it's going to hold up to a second use. So we'll see. It does get a little bit bulgy at the bottom. It gets a little heavy for the chicken wire and starts to sort of poke through. So I don't know if it's gonna sort of stretch it and start to create breaks in the chicken wire at that point, maybe. But we'll see. But that was definitely the easiest. So while I prefer to not buy stuff to create it. You know, it's a relatively minimal thing, and I think the maybe the benefit outweighs the buying something new in order to create the chicken wire bin. So I'm gonna try to reuse that. I'm gonna try to reuse the screen door. We'll see if that works. I mean, that's really questionable because it's already such a flimsy thing. And then the other one that I have going right now, which is my active one, is this, which is really, I'm still wondering if this is gonna work. So this is just a circle of logs and an old pine tree on top to help sort of deter some of the larger critters from coming in. But otherwise, it's just open. So it's not, you know, there's no bin, there's no wire, nothing. And so I'm not turning it at all, same deal. And the leaves are a little bit scarce at this point. I know it doesn't seem like it, but when you try to rake them up, you get a lot of sticks, and I don't want a ton of sticks in there because, again, it's just gonna take longer to break down and introduce more sort of rubble into the dirt than I want. And so I have been using biodegradable toilet paper rolls and paper wrapping that I had that's biodegradable. So trying to use that as the carbon to offset all the food scraps and such. But definitely smaller critters get in here. You know, none of the big ones. I don't know if it's because of the tree or not. But you know, I do know squirrels and stuff can sort of get in here, and every once in a while there's some stuff that's sort of pulled out, but nothing tremendous. It's not like anything comes in here and just sort of like decimates the whole thing. By and large, everything is still sort of in there. So we'll see how that continues to take shape. That has probably another, I would guess, 3 to 5 months before that would feel like it's full. And there's a hole here that I probably need to plug up. That would help quite a bit. You see this big gap right here. I tried to just shove in some, some leaves like this, but yeah, that wasn't enough of a of a barrier. So I need to get sort of a smaller log and kind of, you know, get it in there nice and tight, and see if that helps sort of dissuade anything from getting too much stuff out of there. But then also it will allow me to fill it, you know, more full. Yeah, on one side it's getting quite full, but on the other side it's still quite low. So we'll see if I'm going to be able to slope it well enough, or how to deal with that. But I'm guessing I'll be able to fill that throughout much of the winter, before maybe having to transition to anything else. But yeah, I'm going to figure out a way to either empty these into something, or like I said, if it does make sense, to use the compost as part of the overwinter crops, which the purpose there is, I have peas and oats. I think I talked about this in a different video. I have a peas and oats mix, and the purpose there is to re-enrich your soil, reintroduce nutrients, by planting those over the winter, letting them die, and then just sort of turning them under the soil before you plant in the spring. So the question is, do I introduce the compost with the peas and the oats, or do I let the peas and the oats do their thing, and then in the spring, when I plant new stuff, then add the compost? Or do I do a bit of both, if I even have enough? We'll see. But yeah, I can give an update if folks are interested on what seems to be the best tactic there and how it goes. But overall, I've been really happy with how this went, and so I would encourage anyone who's able to think about chicken wire. It was really easy. If you do have something that you think you can fashion yourself, I'm not the most handy person, and even I was able to you know, utilize the screen door, but certainly there's other things. I actually have an old toy bin that is pretty sealed, but it has a little bit of ability for air to get into it. So it's sort of this weird mix, you know, unless you have one of those like tumblers and whatnot. It can be hard to have a completely sealed thing that's not going to get any airflow or anything circulating through to help keep things moving. So this has a little bit of that, but is mostly sealed. And again, if I put something heavy on the lid, a big rock, a big log, or something like that, it might be enough to keep anything out. But that's my next goal. So I would have essentially 4 going at the same time. And that'll, yeah, just allow me hopefully to never be in a situation where I'm totally out of compost. But all right, that's it for this one. If you walked the whole time, you got in about 13 minutes, so good job. If you didn't, no worries. I do appreciate you coming and hanging out and listening to me ramble about my compost. All right, folks, I'll see you in the next video.